Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're here because you want the important stuff fast.
That's the idea. Cut through the noise.
Exactly. So today we're digging into the Liat show. We've looked at its online content, its Substack, all that.
Right, trying to piece together what it's all about for people who might be curious.
You've probably seen it pop up, maybe wondered, what is this exactly? So that's our mission. Give you the essence of the Liat show.
And just quickly, pronunciation, the creator's name, Liat.
Ah, good point. It's Liat.
Liat. And her father, Nissim.
That's Nissim.
Liat and Nissim. Okay, ready.
Let's do it. So first off, what is the Liat show? It's not quite like a typical newsletter or podcast, is it?
No, not really. The way it's described is more like a story unfolding across timelines.
The story unfolding. Okay,
Yeah.
so less like individual articles, more connected.
Exactly. Think of it as an ongoing narrative. Different threads, different topics, but they sort of weave together over time.
And the creator, Liat Portal, her interests are, wow, all over the place. In a good way.
Definitely diverse. You've got history, music, science, business, art, food.
Entrepreneurship, personal stories.
Mm.
It's a real mix. And how does she even connect all that?
Well, her self-description gives us a hint, I think. She calls herself the daughter of the greatest storyteller. That's her dad, the architect.
Right, Nissim.
And she also calls herself an architect. Not of buildings, obviously, or software.
But of something new, it suggests a very deliberate, maybe unconventional approach.
I think so. And another key thing, the audience, they're called an essential part of the story.
So it's interactive,
Mm.
not just passive consumption.
Seems that way. It implies community, feedback, maybe even shaping the direction somehow.
Which feels very current, you know? And the way she produces it, writing on weekends, evenings,
Yeah, publishing almost like a live performance, she says, gives it that happening now feel.
like you're catching it as it develops.
Mhm. And the structure helps too. You get these sets of episodes on one topic, but also standalone ones.
So you can dive deep or just dip in.
And it's meant to flow smoothly, the whole thing. Plus, crucial point, it's reader supported.
Meaning the audience funds it directly. No big corporate backers deciding things.
That's the model.
Yep.
Which brings us to where it lives, mainly.
Substack. People hear that name a lot now.
Yeah, for listeners maybe not familiar, Substack is basically an online platform.
Lets writers, podcasters, creators like Lee publish directly to their audience, right?
Exactly. Kind of bypasses the traditional media hurdles. Substack calls itself a home for great culture.
A space for independent voices.
Pretty much. And the Liat show is right there.
But not only there, right?
Yeah.
I saw it listed elsewhere, too.
Correct. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, even Patreon. So lots of ways to listen or watch.
Good to have options. Now, one of the really unique parts seems to be the conversation she has with her father.
With Nissim Portal, yeah, her
Yeah.
architect father. That intergenerational dialogue is definitely a core element.
What makes it so special?
Well, you get this mix, right? His decades of lived experience, especially in architecture and nation building in Israel.
Nation building, heavy stuff.
Yeah, they talk about the history of construction there, public housing projects, the huge challenges Israel faced early on.
Wow. So it's history, but personal, too.
Deeply personal. It's not just facts, it's his memories, his perspective, blended with historical analysis. Nissim is apparently very direct.
Correct how? Like blunt.
Maybe blunt sometimes, skeptical often, but insightful.
Yeah.
He lived through it, you know? He brings that firsthand reality.
And Lee brings
Yeah.
a different lens.
Yeah, she often looks at these historical situations through like a modern business or management framework, an entrepreneurial viewpoint.
Interesting contrast. What sort of specific things do they discuss?
Things like the legacy of those early housing companies like Rasco or Amidar, big names in Israeli history.
Okay.
And the sheer difficulty of absorbing 1 million immigrants in a short time, the impact of austerity policies back then.
You really get a sense of the scale of the challenges.
Absolutely, and Nissim often adds that caution, you know. Don't judge the past only by today's standards. Understand the context, the pressures.
That's a valuable perspective. So it's history, personal stories.
Yeah.
But Lead is also looking forward, isn't she, towards education?
Massively. This seems to be a huge passion project for her. She talks about this dream, building a future compulsory education system.
Compulsory, like
Right.
for everyone. Based on what?
Based on, get this, the entertainment industry. and plugged into social media.
Whoa. Okay, unpack that. Entertainment and social media for compulsory education.
Yeah, she envisions these online classes that feel more like engaging social media experiences, not dry lessons, interactive, maybe
Where
personalized.
does this idea even come from?
It seems directly inspired by those nation-building stories they discuss. The successes, the failures, the lessons learned from Israel's early days trying to build housing, integrate people.
She sees parallels between building a country and building an education system.
Apparently so. Using those massive societal projects as a kind of blueprint or at least a source of inspiration for tackling education differently.
And that phrase she uses, this isn't school.
This is how we build the future.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
really signals that shift. It's about doing, creating, practical skills, community building.
Less passive learning, more active building.
Exactly. And one concrete idea is teaching practical job skills online,
Like what?
using construction and urban renewal as the lens, teaching skills relevant to those fields, but tailored to local conditions wherever the learners are.
Making it immediately useful. It's
Yeah.
ambitious.
Very. And she's clear that supporting the Layat Show is, in a way, supporting this vision, helping make it happen.
Right, which leads to the practical side. Subscriptions, how does that work?
So on Substack, you can subscribe. There's a free option, lets you sample the content.
Okay, good starting point.
But to really support the show and, this whole future education idea, there are paid options.
How much are we talking?
It's $8 a month or $88 for a whole year. $8 a month, $88 a year.
Got it. And she actually mentioned her birthday is coming up May 8th. So maybe a good time to sign up if you're feeling supportive.
A little birthday support nudge, maybe. And what do subscribers get right now?
Well, she says all the content released so far is actually available for free to subscribers, so you get the back catalog instantly.
That's pretty good value. And are there other levels for, super fans?
Yeah, there's mention of becoming a founding member or an annual member as ways to provide more significant support.
For people who really believe in the project.
Exactly. The message is kind of urgent, like this thing must come to life, and listener support is key.
It connects the content directly to this larger goal she has. It's compelling.
Yeah.
Beyond the show itself, Lee's own background is pretty interesting too, isn't it?
It really is. We mentioned her dad, the storyteller, but she herself has quite the resume. Industrial engineering degree.
Okay, analytical.
And an MBA, plus experience as a business development architect.
Business development architect. So, strategy. Building things in a business context.
Seems like it. Connecting ideas, structuring deals or projects maybe. Plus, she's passionate about helping tech companies break into the U.S. market.
So engineering, business, strategy, storytelling. It's a unique combination.
It fits with her description of creating things the world hasn't seen before, weaving together threads that don't seem connected at first glance.
And this whole thing falls under a larger narrative she calls.
My journey to infinity?
Okay. Sounds very expansive. Like the overall arc for everything she's doing.
That seems to be the idea, the umbrella narrative.
And this journey, this show, it's reaching people far and wide, right?
Yeah, the numbers are pretty impressive. Subscribers from 34 U.S. states.
34 states. Wow.
And get this, 87 countries globally.
87. That's incredible reach for an independent creator. Where are people tuning in from?
Well, the U.S., obviously, U.K., Israel, Canada, Australia are mentioned as key ones.
Makes sense.
And within the U.S., big states like California, New York, Texas, Florida, showing strong numbers.
It really shows the ideas are resonating across cultures and borders.
Definitely. And she seems genuinely thankful for that global community that's formed.
Okay, so there's one other thing, a name that popped up in the online signals around the show, Jared Leto.
Ah, yes, the Jared Leto question. Some hashtags or mentions maybe sparked that?
Possibly. Is there anything concrete there? Are they meeting? Collaborating?
Honestly, the source material we looked at doesn't confirm anything like that. No scheduled meeting mentioned.
So just speculation for now.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
But
right.
given the whole journey to infinity narrative.
Anything could happen.
Exactly. She frames it as this ongoing, unfolding story. So the playful suggestion is keep following, and maybe you will see something like that happen. It adds to the, unpredictability.
Keeps you hooked, wondering what's next on the journey. Makes sense.
Yeah, it fits the overall vibe.
Okay, so wrapping things up a bit. The Lead It show really is this unique blend.
It is. Personal stories, deep dives into history, especially Israeli history, through that family lens.
Mixed with these really forward-looking, almost radical ideas about education and building the future.
Definitely a combination you don't find everywhere.
So if listeners are intrigued, what's the best way to check it out?
Easiest is probably Substack. Just search for The Liat Show. But it's also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Patreon.
So wherever you get your podcasts or content.
Pretty much, just search The Liat Show or maybe Liat Portal Podcast, Liatportal, or Google it. You'll find it.
Easy enough. Join the conversation. Become part of that community she talks about.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's that listener curiosity, wanting to understand things, that fuels shows like hers and ours too.
True. Drives the whole thing. So maybe a final thought for people to chew on.
Go for it.
Thinking about those conversations between Liat and Nissim,
Yeah.
how could those lessons from building things in the past, housing, integrating people, all those struggles,
Yeah.
how could they actually provide a real roadmap, or at least serious inspiration, for how we build the future of learning, or even our communities today?
That's a deep question. Taking historical struggle and applying it forward.
And maybe even thinking,
Yeah.
what role could I, the listener, play in that?
Yeah.
Especially by supporting creators like Liat who are trying these new, ambitious things.
Food for thought, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.